To the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Studios at AM 830 WCRN as well as AM 730 WACE. We're live streaming on the TuneIn app, so just punch in WCRN and you can take us anywhere. Of course, you can go to the radio show website. We're streaming there. We're also live streaming the show on our social media platforms. All of our social media platforms for the Joe Mangiacotti Show are at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. Joe Mangi Show, that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. So we're live streaming on our Facebook page, our Twitter account, my LinkedIn page at Joe Mangiacotti, Twitch TV, and of course our YouTube channel, the Joe Mangiacotti Show. So several ways to listen to the show right there. You can join the conversation at any time over the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. We have our text line. That's up and running. You text it like you would anybody else. Just text it to the number 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. But you also have the option, if you don't have the phone in front of you, but you have a device, you can email exactly what you're doing. Text to Joe on the radio at gmail.com. It appears on the same screen in studio. Now, if you want to reach the show, don't use that email. Use the show email, which is joemshow@gmail.com. I don't look at the text Joe on the radio one unless we're in studio and on the air. Makes sense, right? All right, so lined up for the next hour here. Did lose, it seems like, hey, first of all, Jazz, good afternoon. Good to see you.
How are you today?
Good. Cam walked in yesterday and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that Cam was even around. I haven't seen him since like November. So he was in on Sunday. Good to have you back every Monday here. Jazz flying the board today. So she'll be answering the phone, taking your calls. Did you see that we lost Bob Saget?
Oh, I know. Wasn't that so sad?
Yeah. Full House dad, Bob Saget, right? He was best known, I think, for that. Well, I don't know, because he hosted America's Funniest Videos for like 10 years. And he was also the narrator voice on How I Met Your Mother.
I did not realize that.
That's him. That's him. And it was always, I always liked the contrast of the narrator over what was going on in the crazy show, how there was that dichotomy going on there. So Bob Saget, yeah, great career, and 65 years old. So that's pretty young. He was found expired in a Florida hotel room. Now, he was down there doing comedy, and he had tweeted about this. He had gone full circle, right? He said, I feel like I'm back in my 20s, doing the stand-up and doing the comedy circuit, which, of course, that's how he got started. Then he landed a TV show in the gigs, How I Met Your Mother, the America's Funniest Videos. He was in some other stuff. Great TV movie career. And then later in life, he went back to the comedy circuit. Jay Leno liked to do that, too. He lived off of his comedy money. So he never touched the show money. He just banked that. And that was $35 million a year. Well, it was for a while. And when they went to Jay Leno, they said, we're going to have to lay off a bunch because we can't afford them and it could affect the show. And he said, wait a minute, how many people are you going to lay off? And it was like 20 something people. And he said, how about I take less money and you keep them employed? I really don't notice the difference between $15 million a year and $35 million a year. And let's face it, would you? So the good for him. But Bob Saget, they said now, before people jump, he was in Florida working. I think it was a Ritz-Carlton that he was in, and there's no signs of foul play. There's no signs of drug use of any type. So this could be a situation of what can be, age 65 by no means is considered old in today's standards. So we'll say goodbye to Bob Saget. I mean, this is Betty White, Bob Saget. We've lost a lot of people in 2021, and I think he's the first name, Jazz, of 2022, the big name, right? A celebrity loss.
I believe so.
So I hope this resets it, the thing of, they come in, oh no, they come in threes. Right? Didn't we lose Betty White? Who were the three that we lost kind of relatively close together?
I want to say those are the only two that and Bob Dole. There was
Bob Dole in the year, yeah, but recently they lost. But Bob Saget, dead at 65, folks. Hopefully it was peacefully in a hotel room in Florida. All right, coming up this hour, we've got a few things to talk about. And one of the things is there's a great example of how politics are supposed to work. And right here locally, coming up this Thursday, is going to be a town hall for candidates in Auburn, Massachusetts. I think it's at J. Anthony's. We're going to get more of this information from Jeffrey Sousa Paquette, who is the Republican candidate for the Mass Second that's held by Jim McGovern right now. So what happened is this isn't being put on by the women's voting league or a political party or the town clerk or town committee. It's being put on by parents who decided that they need to get involved and find out what the candidates' positions are. So they said, well, we're going to have a town hall, and we're not going to have this polluted with a bunch of outside influences and so forth. But we want to ask these candidates where they stand on these positions, because if you're a parent and you haven't realized, if you don't pay attention to your politics and your politicians, rather, you're going to be in a situation where you're being told that you're not the primary factor in your child's education. You're going to be lied to and told that CRT isn't being taught in school when it clearly is. You're going to be in a situation where your children are being taught either too early or information regarding sex education that you have determined your child isn't ready for, but you have no say in it. And we've said this on this show over and over, folks. Get out and vote, registered to vote. If you don't pay attention to your politicians and your candidates, they will do whatever they want, and they'll get away with it. So this is an example of parents saying, we're going to have a town hall forum type debate with the candidates where we can ask their questions, find out what where their positions are, and that will help us determine their fate, but more importantly, the fate of our children and us as citizens. This is supposed to be a citizen government. This is what we're supposed to be doing, folks. So I am applauding the organizers of Thursday night's event. I think at 6 o'clock, we'll get all the information from Jeffrey Paquette. He will fill us in on how this came about, who's actually going to speak, what the topics are going to be, the purpose of this. But this is what needs to happen. It needs to happen all across the board. And you have to pay attention to school board, right? This is where we're having so much trouble. Look at Virginia. Look at the school boards across the country. Right? And when they're trying to cover up crimes taking place in schools, right? When we have poor reaction, right, that results in school shootings, sexual assaults in bathrooms, CRT in the classroom. And this is a huge issue because it's going to go, but side of this, because the other thing we're going to attack a little later in the show is this administration's policy to determine your race when it comes to treatment with COVID-19 therapeutics and treatment, your race and ethnicity. Now, your weight and your age have always been the first primary concern in this area, but now this administration, this president, wants to employ a racist policy for medical treatment. Where are we? What year are we in? I don't know, folks. But 14 and a half minutes after the hour, we're going to take a quick break here in the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxtrop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. When we come back on the other side, we'll be joined by congressional candidate Jeffrey Sousa Paquette, and we'll talk about this town hall meeting coming up on Thursday. Stick with us. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation.
You just may have the best podcast anywhere.
Blah, 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 blah.
But who knows it exists? Hello? Get cast to broadcast on radio. Create a podcast. Improve your podcast sound with professional production and editing. Record your podcast in a real radio studio. Visit podcasttoBroadcast.org today. Get your podcast on the radio with podcasttobroadcast.org.
I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and as well as I do Teddy. The professional staff at Cantiani has been providing courteous service for over 40 years with integrity and personalized service, making sure that your insurance actually protects you and your family. With 2 locations, the 318 Plantation Street in Worcester and East Douglas Insurance Agency, located at 306 Main Street in Douglas. For home, auto, business insurance, and now pet insurance, click CantianiAgency.com or call 508-791-2088. 508-791-2088.
We know why you're awake. Your child is about to get their driver's license. Levante's Auto School offers 1-week driving programs to help make sure your child stays safe and focused behind the wheel.
877 Drive Ed. Who's Ed?
That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoschool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. 877 Drive Ed.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Hey folks, here, and I have recently purged and refreshed with new furniture and, most importantly, a new bed. We spend about a third of our life on our mattresses, and it's so vital we have the right one, and we don't break the bank to do that. I first bought a mattress from the big store the brothers used to own, and a power base that moved the head and feet, and then I met John, and I checked out his showroom at 50 Main Street in Ashland and online at boxdropmiddlesex.com, and ended up with a better mattress, a power base that also heats and massages, all for less than half of what I was going to spend at the other place. Boxdrop is a discount mattress store, and John specializes in clearance and closeouts, and he buys directly from the manufacturer with a low overhead and just family employees, passing the savings on to you, and you can see it reflected in the price every day. Click boxdropmiddlesex.com or call John on his cell. This is his cell number, 508-579-9303. That's 508-579-9303. And you can find John on Facebook at Boxdrop Middlesex. John loves referrals, and this is the best referral I've given so far this year. DropboxMiddlesex.com.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. He brings a knife to a gunfight just to make the odds even. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxdrop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. All right, so as I mentioned, let me invite into the conversation a candidate for Massachusetts' 2nd congressional seat, currently held by Jim McGovern, Jeffrey Sosa Perquet. Hey, Jeff, good morning, man, or good afternoon, as the case is.
Good afternoon, Joe. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks for taking time out and jumping in. I had shared before I went into the break the town hall coming up for Thursday in Auburn. I think it's at J. Anthony's.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
6 p.m.
So the interesting thing about this is this isn't something being pulled together by a town committee or some party or something, right? This is a parent issued, a parent originated town hall.
Absolutely.
Tell us how this came to be.
So, there's a bunch of parent groups all across the state, across District 2, and of course across our country right now. Parents have real concerns with what's happening inside our schools, whether it's sexual sex ed that it borderlines on pornography, what we're actually showing our children, and this could be a live example than what's happening in our Worcester school district at the moment. As I've been
Fill
traveling-
people in, because when you say that, we have listeners all in Mass, and they may not understand what's happening with Worcester schools right now.
So, for example, like I'm in the child care business, from 6 years old to 6 weeks old to 6 years old. And what Worcester has passed is sexual education. So if you think of a kid, they're teaching our children, that masturbation is good, it feels good, all of these different things. As we move into the K through 5, first grade to fifth grade, they're up, they're upping the ante, and now we're teaching the children with, graphic pictures, and we're teaching children. Let's think about it this way: my son's 10 years old, and they're teaching him, for example, oral sex, anal sex, all these different
All right.
things.
So this is going, Jeff. This is going to, and without even knowing we're going to go down this path at this moment, I had said in one, if you're paying attention to your candidates and your politicians, things like being told that you're not the primary factor in your child's education is going to be told to you. CRT will be into the school system when they lie to us and tell us it isn't. And the information conveyed to our children are going to be done without our permission, without our understanding it's happening, and certainly information in the sexual education departments, maybe earlier than it should be. And that's the key, right? The parents should be making these decisions as to when and what information they are taught to their children, not the government on any way, shape, or form, I feel. Your take.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's happened here is the parents from Massachusetts and District 2 of Massachusetts have varying groups, from the Millbury Resident Setups to Central Mass Freedom Assembly, the opt-out group in Worcester. They all came together and they put this town hall together, operating the way America really should operate, government, by the people, for the people. They called the town hall and, called the candidates to come and answer their questions for 2 hours. So no Chamber of Commerce, no media asking questions. This is parent driven with what their concerns are. And they've called 7 Republican candidates in, ranging from Jeff Deal, who's running for governor, myself, running for the U.S. House of Representatives, Ryan Fatman, who is currently a state senator, and a few other, 7 candidates altogether, all Republicans. And we've all been called in to let the parents ask their questions and display their concerns. So we have no idea who they are. Nothing is set. They set up a professional moderator, Carol Sue, if I'm saying her name correctly, will be the moderator. These are all 1-minute time questions. It'll be 1 hour of your top candidates, meaning, Jeff Deal running for governor, myself, the senator. And then the second hour is the candidates that are running for for school boards. And
so there'll be no is media welcome, but they're not part of the process. They can observe.
Correct.
Okay. And
the media,
are any Democratic candidates welcome to come?
no one accepted the invitation.
Okay,
And
so they've been
are-
invited, but no one's accepted this.
And there are other Republican candidates, elected individuals that were also invited.
Okay.
Either their schedules are too busy or whatever, but invitations went out to everybody. 7 of us agreed to come and do this town hall.
All right, and who's going to be moderating or conducting it, or how, town hall? There's usually a moderator, right? Who is
Yep.
kind of controlling the questions.
So Carol Sue Castiella
Oh, that's
is going to be the moderator. She's flying in from Arizona. And this is the important part too. The parents are putting out the expense on it, of bringing in, the equipment, the microphone, bringing in a professional.
interesting. This is a huge deal, Jeff. I mean, this is the parents are taking on the financial obligation of this, because it's not cheap, folks, to put these things on. There's sound equipment, there's lighting equipment, there's the setup, the location, the venue. So it's not cheap. And then to have a professional moderator flown in from Arizona, I mean, I don't even think town committees do that. Yeah. So this is a huge thing. Yeah, this is huge.
It's a huge thing, and and then we get to see what's exciting for me is this is happening in Massachusetts, and when we think about Massachusetts history, from our revolution to all these different things, one more time the state of Massachusetts is going to speak to what is proper government, and that's the parents and the citizens coming out and speaking and taking control. So I'm really excited because I don't think anywhere in my lifetime I've actually witnessed the public pull this together. Not the chamber of the grassroots. This is politics handed back to the public.
The way I think it's always should be. This is closer to a true town square situation than most things we usually see. And pretty much we're in it. We're in it, right? The 22 midterm season has kicked off. It's here. There will be lots of campaigning now, or now through November. On this, what's commonly referred to as the top tier candidate first up, and then you move to the lower offices or school committee members.
Correct.
Okay. So right now we know it's yourself, it's Jeff Deal, Senator Fatman. Any other confirmed candidates?
Yeah. So then it goes, let's see. Kara McCrae is running for state senate. Rayla Campbell is running for Secretary of State. And then the only names I apologize that I don't have are the candidates that are running on the school board.
Okay. That's the Worcester School Board?
Millbury School Board, and I believe Uxbridge.
All right, Uxbridge and Millbury School Boards. All right. Is it too late for any candidate that might be hearing you right now to say, well, wait a minute, I'd like to get in and I didn't realize this, or for whatever reason, can they still give you a holler and say, hey, can I participate?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a holler and I'll reach out to the moderators that are doing this and let them know we've got another candidate coming in.
Roll your information, Jeff, how people can reach you and your website and so forth.
So if anybody that wants to go either as a parent or a candidate, just email me at Jeffrey, JEFFRUY, at Jeff, JEFF, number 4, Congress.com. That's personal email. And that way then I can respond to people and get to the moderators that we may have another candidate coming in. And the exciting thing that I learned this morning, we have over 100 parents that have already RSVP'd. And at last check, I believe we already have 41 questions already emailed in from the parents that they want to ask the candidate.
That's actually impressive to have over 100 RSVP parents saying that they're going to attend. I mean, if you had 100, just 110, that would be considered a hugely successful debate or town hall, I should say. So that's great. I mean, good luck with this. I'm so happy to see grassroots type of town halls and debates coming into the scene here, because there's that feeling, Jeff, when you go to these things or you watch them on TV, right? They're so rehearsed. Who's going to be called on is mapped out. We know, for example, that in some of these, especially presidential debates, certain candidates like Hillary Clinton have been given the questions in advance. We know that there's bias in it, but when you questions are not being censored or gone through or written for them, but coming from the parents, and the parents asking the questions, and the moderator just being the traffic cop, really, in this case. It sounds like, anyway, right? This is going to be a true town hall where you get an opportunity to truly get to the candidate and find out what their position is.
Yes. And Carol has set the stage. The rules are, 1 minute every candidate. So, for example, Joe, if you were asking me a question, I have 1 minute to answer your question, and the moderator will cut me off.
Yep.
And time is up.
Jeff, I got to hold you there because we're against the clock on the break. Thank you so much. I will give this information out again before I end. Thank you very much. And of course, we'll be talking to you through the campaign. That's Jeffrey Sousa Paquette. This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxer Up Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studio. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side.
of New York, Eric Adams, says the number of dead from a fire in the Bronx is lower than what was first reported.
We have 17 lost, 9 are adults and 8 are children. This is really an evolving crisis.
Dozens of people are hospitalized, including several in critical condition. Fire Commissioner Daniel Nigro talked about the cause of the fire.
We're certain that the fire started with a faulty electrical heater, portable heater. The fire was contained to the hallway just outside this 2-story apartment, but the smoke traveled throughout the building, and the smoke is what caused the deaths and the serious injuries.
Mayor Adams said the building had self-closing doors, and investigators are looking into whether a door malfunctioned. The building was equipped with smoke alarms, but several residents said they initially ignored them. I'm Ed Donahue.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. Whether you want to learn Spanish for future travel plans, French to connect with extended family, or maybe German to land a new job, Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you'll actually use. All you need is 15 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to confidently speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel is designed by real language experts using a modern conversation-based technique that makes learning fun, engaging, and best of all, memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. The sentences gradually get more complex. Soon you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. And with 14 languages to choose from and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll be sure to learn what matters most to you. Babbel, language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25, 8:30 WCRN. We're going to keep it pretty cold out there for the next couple of days. In fact, this afternoon, temperatures just in the middle 20s. We're going to go with partly cloudy skies. And then overnight tonight, you might see a little bit of a flurry as an Arctic front comes through. That does mean a big cool down tomorrow. Sub-zero wind chills expected essentially throughout the day. We've got that Tuesday sun. It's just not going to help much with the warm up. I'm Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Another marvelous Monday in New England. I'm Ted A. Here are some historic facts that happened on January 10th. In 49 BC, Julius Caesar defies the Roman Senate and crosses the Rubicon. In 1430, the First Order of the Guilder is formed. In 1776, Thomas Paine publishes Common Sense, advocating American independence. In 1863, the first Underground Railroad opens in London. In 1943, FDR becomes the first U.S. president to travel overseas during wartime. In 1946, the United States Army bounced a radar signal off the moon from Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. The WCRN News is brought to you by John the Roofer, a leader in the roofing and home improvements business for more than 70 years. Call 866-906-ROOF. Or go to the internet and see johntheroofer.com.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. His tears cure cancer. Too bad he never cries. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388. Jazz is flying the board. Jazz, this is a great idea that there's going to be a town hall that is by the parents, right, by the citizens. They're asking the questions. They brought in their own moderator. This isn't going to be something that is sleek and polished, done by one of the town committees, which is politically biased. It is Republican. Everybody was sent an invitation. No Democrats have responded, and not every Republican responded. But as Jeffrey Paquette was saying, is you can still, if you're a candidate, get involved, and if you're a parent or just a voter in central Massachusetts, remember, you've got a gubernatorial candidate, right? You've got Jeff Deal going to be there, and you got Jeffrey Paquette himself, who is the second district, and that's a big land-wise. Okay, I know the districts are based on population, but that's a lot of real estate in this particular district, because once you get out of Worcester, folks, right, the populations aren't as dense, so there's a lot of real estate in Mass Second. So that's Thursday night, 6 o'clock at J. Anthony's in Auburn. It's right there on the town line. Great place, a great, good restaurant. But check it out. So be there 6 o'clock on Thursday evening. Good job, Jeff. All right, now here's something. Folks, did you ever think that we would be in modern day America 22 having your treatment, your medical treatment will be based on your ethnicity? This is a policy the Biden administration setting us back 100 years. Guidance in the Biden administration states certain individuals may be considered high risk and more quickly qualify for monoclonal antibodies and oral antivirals used to treat COVID-19 based on, quote, race or ethnicity, unquote. And don't you think that there are state governors and leadership that are just latching on to that? In a fact sheet issued for healthcare providers by the Food and Drug Administration, the federal agency approved emergency use authorizations for Citron, a monoclonal antibody proven to be effective against the Omicron variant, only to patients considered high risk. That happens in emergency situations all the time. That's not a big deal. All right, the guidance updated in December, this past December, last month, says medical conditions or factors such as race or ethnicity have the potential to place individual patients at high risk for progression to severe COVID-19, adding that the authorization of Sotrovimab under the EUA is not limited to other factors outlined in the agency's report. So when you go in and they're going to either look at you or they're going to triage you and they're going to ask your race or your ethnicity, that should be of concern to you, regardless of your race or ethnicity, by the way. Now, we know that age is a huge factor in treating COVID-19 and any of the variants, including Omicron. And regardless of what liberal Supreme Court justices thinks, we're going to get to that in the next segment, it's very instrumental in your treatment, as is your weight. Obesity is a huge factor in treating this as well. Older age, obesity, pregnancy, chronic kidney disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease are among the multiple medication conditions and factors associated with what is considered high risk. Now, some states, including New York and Utah, have made it clear they will prioritize certain racial minorities over other high-risk patients when it comes to the distribution of a particular COVID treatment. I'm going to say that again because you probably don't think you heard it right. But they will prioritize racial minorities over high-risk patients. Now, if that's not as racial Jim Crow crap that you can get, what is? A modern day that we're looking at your racial and ethnicity profile to give you life-saving drugs. Shouldn't this scare the bejesus out of you? I don't care. Even if you are a black woman lesbian, I mean, I don't care if you check all of the minority boxes you can possibly think of. the fact that that's even considered a viable policy, the fact that this administration puts it forward. If you ever had any doubt about where Joe Biden is as a racist, I mean, between the busing legislation in the 70s, his comments about his children going to school in the jungle, to the 7-Eleven thing, to the if you don't vote for Biden, you ain't black, to all of these things, including those leveled by Vice President Kamala Harris in the Democratic primary debates last year, when she called him a racist and said she believed the accusations, sexual allegations made against him. So she called him a racist and a rapist in one debate. Yet she is his pick for VP. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's jump to Ken, who's waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Joe. So used to saying good morning.
I know, me too, right? There's a funny, right? I have to get into that because it's that muscle memory. It just is going to come out. Good morning. Hey, did you get a chance to hear Jeffrey Sosa Perquette?
I did.
All right. And I think that, what do you think of this town hall by parents, questions by parents, right? No slick, organized, pre-written, and we're going to decide who we're going to call on type of thing.
Hey, that's the method by which we overcome Soros's hundreds of millions of dollars of polluting our politics.
Yeah, certainly the first step.
That's true.
I really applaud them for putting this together, and I hope that we see this duplicated throughout the year and in a lot of communities. I hope this is how it does. And bravo to the parents who are footing this bill and putting together, because they're realizing, and when it comes to your children, right? Where do we, as parents, where do we prioritize our expenses? They're always to our children, right? Your children gets the winter coat before you do. Your children's education is what you're saving for. So this is exactly what they should be doing. Is they should be concerned with who's going to be sitting on that school board in those towns, who's going to be representing them in Congress, and who's going to be sitting in the corner office on Beacon Hill.
Absolutely. And crossing over to your topic for this half hour, we have to properly label those who you're pointing out, and we have to call them civil rights violators that they are, racist civil rights violators.
How quick can we get this policy in front of SCOTUS? In SCOTUS, I'm going to talk to in the final segment because, wow, some of those questions by the liberal justices. But, I mean, this has got to get in front of SCOTUS as fast as possible. This doesn't pass constitutional muster at any level to base medical treatment on race.
And oddly enough, though, a lot of these issues as far as the monoclonal, can you name what monoclonal this applies to again?
Yes. Let me pull up the article. The one that I just said when I was doing this, talk about the story.
Yeah, you were reading it off.
I got a backlog on it, but yeah, I will get it in a second. Place I visually pressed.
Because there's only one that works.
All right, monoclonal antibodies. Where is it that they name it? Race, ethnicity, place an individual for risk, diabetes. Now I can't find it right when I want to pull it up right away.
Well, here's the bottom line. There's only one. There's about 8 different monoclonals, and there's only
well,
one.
This one just got the emergency.
Yeah.
So this it. So the Biden administration issued it when it all happened. Hey, Ken, hold a second. I gotta take a break. I don't control the clock, but I'll hold you through the break because we were short on taking it up. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. Come back on the other side here from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Stick with us.
Enjoy sitting down with your family for an Italian home-cooked meal? A trip to Ziti's is just like that, every time. The smells and tastes of true time-tested Italian recipes, the best in Italian cuisine, served by some of the nicest people you will ever meet. Ziti's fine Italian cooking is a favorite in Metro West at Turnpike Road in Westboro. Every meal at Ziti's is one you will. head on down to ZD's. All the buffer right here in your backyard.
I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and as well as I do Teddy. Professional staff at Cantiani's has been providing for 40 years with integrity and personalized service, making sure that your insurance actually protects you and your family. With 2 locations, the 3 Street in Worcester and East Douglas Insurance Agency, located at 306 Main Street. For home, auto, business insurance, and now pet insurance, click CantianiAgency.com or call 508-79 2088 5081-2088.
We know why you're away. Your child is about to get their driver's license. Levante's Auto School offers 1-week driving programs to help make sure your child stays safe and focused behind the wheel.
877 Drive Ed.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn rules and keep your cool. 877 Drive Ed.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Hey folks, Joe Mangiacotti here, and I have recently purged and refreshed with new furniture and, most importantly, a new bed. We spend about a third of our life, and it's so vital we have the right one, and we don't break the bank to do that. I first bought a mattress from the big store the brothers used to own, and a power base that moved the head and feet. And I met John, and I checked out his showroom at 50 Main Street in Ashland and online at boxdropmiddlesex.com, and ended up with a better mattress, a power base that also heats and massages, all for less than half of what I was going to spend at the other place. Boxdrop is a discount mattress store, and John specializes in clearance and closeouts, and he buys directly from the manufacturer with a low overhead and just family employees, passing the savings on to you, and you can see it reflected in the price every day. Click boxdropmiddlesex.com or call John on his cell. This is his cell number, 508-579-9303. That's 508-579-9303. And you can find John on Facebook at Boxdrop Middlesex. John loves referrals, and this is the best referral I've given so far this year. Dropboxmiddlesex.com.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388 or email text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. To the most interesting man in the world. Have a week dedicated to him. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, so welcome back to the 4th and final segment of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxdrop Middlesex Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Our caller was Ken on the line before we went into break. And to answer the question that we were looking for is that the fact sheet issued for healthcare providers by the FDA that approved the emergency use authorization for Sotrovimab. Now, that's Trovimab, Sotrovimab. It's a monoclonal antibody proven to be effective against the Omicron variant, but only to patients considered high risk. So is that what you were looking for? Which one I was talking about?
Done.
Yeah.
You know, things have changed dramatically. I now call Omicron COVID-3, COVID-21. It distinctively is different than the previous one, COVID-19. And you just read off the only monoclonal antibody that all the others are basically useless. So what they're saying,
yeah,
oh, we're offended that only rich people are going to get this, so we're going to make sure it's race-based. Oh my God!
It is crazy that anything is being based on race in this day and age. I mean, this is we've the one thing, despite that dark spot on our history, the slavery in the United States, the up to that, Ken, has always been we were the first country to abolish slavery. We fought a war among ourselves, lost hundreds of thousands of lives to eliminate that atrocity in this country. and we had the civil rights movement in the 60s, right? We passed civil legislation, and we have all kinds of policies and HR organizations throughout the country and affirmative action. We've done so much to reach that MLK dream of judging people on their character and on the content of the character and on their abilities and not on the color of their skin. And we've seen over this administration, and we've seen the left take us to dormitories, segregated, right? Segregated graduations, segregated study halls. I mean, what is going on? We going backwards on the progressive train, folks.
I mean, literally, Joe, the principles that we grew up hearing Democrats espouse, to which maybe Republicans were slow to respond. But then again, you go back to the 60s.
Well, wait a minute. It was
voters' rights.
Yeah. All the Republicans voted in the 60s. All the Republicans voted for the civil rights bill.
A greater percentage of Republicans voted in because guess what? Joe Biden's friends that were Southern Democrat senators were the ones voting against it.
Exactly.
He lands in the Senate, and they're his best buddies.
And Joe Biden gets a pass on going to a grand cyclops or whatever Byrd was, right? Senator Byrd was in, I don't know what the terms are in the KKK. Sorry, folks, I'm not up on those terms, but it's called something like cyclops or grand wizard or was. He gets a pass for all that, right? He gets a pass for all of the racially insensitive comments that he makes because he has a D next to his name. It's not, you just misheard it, and it doesn't mean what you think it means.
So, Joe, here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
The first half of your hour was dedicated to local.
Yep.
This is at a national level. We need all the lawyers we can to confront the Dems for the hypocrisy that they're carrying out, confrontedly, and stop the nonsense.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I said. How fast is in front of SCOTUS to shoot this policy down? I mean, if this isn't a clear violation of, it doesn't pass constitutional muster. I don't understand why they think it works, why it does. Meanwhile, right, we states who are so happy to jump right in on this as fast as they can get it, right? They're just going to run with it like they did with the mask mandate that was being challenged, but it didn't matter, right? They said, go ahead and follow it anyway. All right. So non-white race or Hispanic Latino ethnicity should be considered a risk factor as a longstanding systemic health and social inequities, I'm quoting this obviously, have contributed to an increased risk of severe illness and death from COVID-19. This is from the memo. In guidelines issued by the state of Utah for the distribution of antibodies in the state, residents who are non-white race or Hispanic or Latinx, right? That Latinx thing. By the way, they've the Latino community, right? Latinx. they want to do away with that. By the way, they're insulted by that. That's not even supposed to be used anymore. So Latinx ethnicity received 2 additional points when calculating their COVID-19 risk. So when you're being triaged, folks, right? The questions, right? They take your weight, your blood pressure. Right, those are normal things immediately that happens even when you go to a doctor visit, right? Weight, blood pressure, temperature, boom. So they're going to take this, but they're on their scoring system. Your race will give you or take away points in 2022. In guidelines issued by Utah, those 2 additional points are going to be given to you for your risk factor, meaning you're getting treated first. Everything else being equal, if you're not white, you'll be treated first. Faulkner, right? Harris Faulkner, she does that Faulkner and Outnumbered thing.
Yeah, I think you're referring to a lunchtime show.
Yeah, Outnumbered at noon, and then she has one at 11 that's under her name, I think. But she was, I heard her making a comment. Of course, she's a black woman who has biracial children.
Yeah.
And she said, if we were to present ourselves at urgent care or emergency or whatever, and my children are having the same problems as I was having, say breathing or whatever the symptoms were, she said, if you think that allow myself to be taken first because I am black and my children are mixed race, you're crazy. As a parent, my children are going to get the treatment first. I mean, this is just asinine, folks. And if you're not disturbed by this, you really have to question why aren't you disturbed by this kind of policy? Even because the policy goes with what you think is right, but it is based on race, that's still racism, folks. Right? You don't get to pick and choose the good racism. It doesn't work like that.
Well, Joe, we just have to find the people to carry on this battle. And I know one person who's doing that, and that's Robert Barnes, nationwide, that's fighting the vaccine mandates. And also, he was on Rittenhouse's group early on, very, very active. And you can follow him on Viva Fry with Robert Barnes on Sunday night. And you can follow him on Locals. Anybody who was thinking in our terms in the same way, get a part of his group, and they will be the ones fighting these battles.
Well, they have to be, right? Because they have to challenge it in the state courts. They have to challenge it in the Supreme Court. And folks, to address it in the ballot box, right? You get rid of racial politicians, right? Politicians who are quick to embrace policies that are race-based. You don't want to, because what happens when policies that are based goes the other in a way you don't, then you, but could it be too late? See, people always wonder how these things happen, right? And how things get out of hand. And it's when we do it with a nudge, right? When we chip away at it, we do it with little, we're going to push you a little bit. How far can we push back is too much? So we back off. And then everybody thinks that's the norm. And then we push you again later, right? A little more. We saw this with the mandates. We were asked, will everybody just wear the mask and stay home for a couple of weeks? We flatten this curve. We don't overwhelm the hospitals. We're in our third year, and mask mandates and enforcements are all the rage right now. Right? They push us and push us.
These issues, Joe, then in Massachusetts, that'll send a signal throughout the country. If all of a sudden there's 1, 2, 3, first time since Luke was Congress, and from what I don't.
That's a huge point. Thank you for that, Ken. Because Massachusetts can be a bellwether for that, because we as a state, we constantly going against the grain, right? We go for the guy the liberal, the Democrat who loses the national election. Massachusetts always, we send an all Democratic delegation to Washington term after term. And we're looking at this, well, not just wave of red wave, but could be red tide coming in November. And it doesn't take about 30, 35 seats, and it will be the largest Republican majority in nearly 100 years, since the 1930s. So we could see it. Now, if Massachusetts was to even have one Republican congressional or Senate candidate, that would be a huge indicator, and hopefully that would give the Democratic or the core Democratic a slap upside the head to say, stop following yourself off the cliff with the progressive ultra left. But Ken, I got to hold you there, because hey, that's going to wrap up the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Middlesex Dropbox Mattress Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Saturday morning at 6 a.m. Don't forget Political Thursday, 10 o'clock with Jerry Doherty right here, same channel. And you can always follow me on my social media platforms at Joe Mangie Show. All right, folks, enjoy